We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education will tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this in years, number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is that not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to keep them out of home. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives. What's up, family? I see you. LD Ward, Black Magic, Darlene Krumadi, and to all of you who I cannot see over on Facebook, over on Twitter, welcome one and all to the live. What's up, Brian C. Johnson? I see you, family. Yes, I'm back. Erie Black Fire. Yes, Happy New Year, family. I want to thank you guys so much. I tell you, it's been a long, tough end of 2021. I want to thank each and every one of you for keeping me lifted in prayer as my mother received her wings at the young age of 75. And it's been rough, family. That's why you haven't seen me. What's up, JBO? I see you, family. I had to take a break because there are certain things that just absolutely crush me. And I think that was the only thing to ever crush me was the loss of my amazing mother. She was just everything, family. You know how we do. She was the matriarch of my hometown of Dayton, Ohio. She was everything to everyone. And you can trust and believe that she gave birth to the one to eulogize her properly, okay? Her husband's minister told me and those scheduled to speak, they tried to limit me to 2 minutes. Now, you guys know that I was born to talk. So there is no way on God's green earth I was going to be able to eulogize my mama in 2 minutes. And that's what I told him when I got on the mic. After he cut the mic on my mother's spiritual son, who was a minister. Who you? She didn't even like you, okay? So I had to wear him all the way out and wear him all the way down. And when I get a moment, I'm going to read you guys what I had to say about my mother, you know, because she was a giant in our community. And she is the reason why I love us Black and Strong, okay? It started with her. It started in her. Her love for humanity, her love for humankind, her love for freedmen. Her love, I mean, I looked up one day and she had given away all of my baby sister's underpants, okay? That's how hard she loved. And I'm going to read y'all how I laid my mama to rest on another occasion, because this occasion right here is epic. We've got Mr. Marcel Dixon in the building, family. And I don't want to conflate the two. I just needed y'all to know you haven't seen me in a while because I've been in my feelings. Although I know she's made in the image likeness of God, akin to how you're made. You know how I close my shows. You are the face of God, the voice of God, the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Yeah, you're God in the flesh, as was she. So you ain't got to like it, but that's my square, and I'm standing on it. And that's what I believe about Mr. Marcel Dixon. This brother is fire. He's been everywhere, on every show, and I've had the great fortune to work alongside him since we founded the Reparationist movement after Kamala Harris threw her hat in the ring. And before I bring him up, he's just magnanimous and magnanimous in every way. He's magnetic and he fights hard for freedmen. He goes hard to paint, and he's got the unmitigated gall to take down Clyburn. And he's got the numbers in his district to do it. And he needs our help, family, all over the country. No, you can't cast a vote, but you sure can pick up a phone and get a vote for this brother right here. Okay, I'm not even going to bring him up yet. I'm just going to tease this for a second. He shared, I saw him in this video where he challenged Clyburn at a town hall meeting right there in South Carolina, right there in his district. He is like me, family, born to talk. He don't hold no punches. And he certainly leaves his heart on the floor for freedmen. And I'm just so grateful to him because I saw him on the African Diaspora show. I saw him on Reset Race. I mean, he's been everywhere. And then he shows up at our meetings where we're, you know, all the grassroots are getting together to put pressure on the Biden administration and the CBC. He's in those meetings too. I don't know when the brother sleeps. But without further ado, I'm going to share just a teaser before I bring him up on the stage so he can tell you from his own mouth how hard he is going for freedmen and how we about to win this here. We may not have any money, family, but we still got the power of the vote, and I cannot wait. This is going to be rich and epic in a very freedman family kind of way. Welcome, allies. I don't mean to exclude you. But this brother right here is showing how to get it done when you are in a majority Black district. Let me share a video first. It's not very long, but you get to see him in action. And you get to be properly impressed before I bring him up on the stage. So stand by, family. Let me share my screen. I see you, Marcel. I see you in the lobby. Honey, we were supposed to do a dress rehearsal. Oh, you know, Freeman life. It didn't happen. He couldn't find the link, child, whatever. Let's see. Let's get it going, though. Without further ado, Mr. Greg Marcel Dixon at a town hall before he threw his hat in the ring, challenging Jim Clyburn. It is Rich. Stand by.
Thank you, Congressman Clyburn, for coming. Too often the politicians that say they speak for us never want to speak to us. So I think we should thank him for being here. We should thank him for being here. Congressman Clyburn, I love this handout, but it's missing one thing, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I want to read it. In 2019, the average, and I know you know these statistics, the average wealth of the average white American family is $188,000. For Black American families, it's only $24,000. Now, I'm done, okay? 80% of rural land, Black land ownership, has been lost since 1969. A white high school dropout has more wealth than a Black college graduate. Per the Accountable USA and the Food and Research Excellence Center, your district and the district I've grown up in is the 6th poorest district in the United States of America.
Which district? The 6th?
South Carolina District 6. Now, there's a quote, and maybe that's not true, but there's a quote that says, I do not, but they backed it up with census data, but there's a quote that says, I do not buy the concept popular in the 1960s, which said, we have suppressed the Black man for 300 years, and the white man is now far ahead in the race for everything our society offers. In order to even the score, we must now give the Black man a head start, or even hold the white man back to even the race. I don't buy that. I'll be damned if I pay for the sins of my forefathers. I don't feel responsible for the sins of my forefathers. I just feel responsible for now. Now, hearing that quote, y'all might think I'm talking about Donald Trump. No, that was Joe Biden. Now, Congressman, you said we know Joe and Joe knows us. And Joe Biden told us that he would have our backs. But since being in office, Joe Biden has signed executive action for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. He has signed executive actions for LGBTQ citizens. He has done executive action for Native Americans. But where's his executive action for Black Americans? Now, what a lot of people may not realize, I don't know, but I just learned this. Funny, Joe Biden got in office and he repealed a lot of stuff Donald Trump did. For a man who said he wasn't concerned with the sins of forefathers, he's trying repealing past sins of Donald Trump. But what about the biggest sin and the original sin this country committed, which was the brutal enslavement of my people, and after slavery, the race massacres, the violent discrimination that kept us in poverty, the land theft, okay? We, Black Americans, now, since 1865, Black Americans own only 0.5 wealth in America. Today, we own less than 3%. Since slavery, not much has changed. Joe Biden could easily do executive action and bring back the Freedmen's Bureau, whose job was to close all disparities between Black Americans, who are descendants of freedmen, and white Americans. Joe Biden, with just a stroke of a pen, can start a commission to study reparations and implement them. You are a representative. We can't show up everywhere. People say, well, Black people need to organize. We've been organizing since the 1500s. These other groups come in like Asian Americans, and within a few months, they get bills for them. It's your job to speak up for us. So you said we know Joe and Joe knows us. I don't care what type of heart Joe has. I care about the policies Joe is going to pass. So why is it, Congressman Clyburn, that you do not support reparations and you do not push Joe Biden to at least bring back the Freedmen's Bureau to close all disparities between white Americans and black Americans. We talk about a crisis at the border. What about the crisis in black America? That was the difference is the crisis in black America was inflicted on us externally. Well, America was built on our back, and we still hold this country up on our backs. It's broken every bone in our bodies. And yet, it keeps up on our breasts. Okay, well, can you please explain why you haven't pushed them then on executive action, specific policies for your people, black Americans? That's my question. I don't get it.
What makes you think I have?
Because we haven't seen it. I see you on the news, and you talk about every other issue, AAPI, LGBTQ. I watch it. I follow you just to see if you're going to mention black American issues, and you don't.
Have you ever heard of HR 40?
HR 40, yes, that lacks direct cash payments and has no specific, that lacks direct cash payments. It lacks specific policies that black Americans are supposed to get. It's just a study, but what policy is it specifying for us?
When you start?
We start with the minimum that black Americans are supposed to get.
Answer the question. Now, where would you start?
I would start with the minimum, that a reparations policy for black
How do
Americans.
you know what the minimum is?
I'm trying to answer your question. You gonna let me answer it? Where would I start?
Tell me what the minimum is.
The minimum, there's a book called From Here to Equality that you have a copy of because the Mystic Branch NAACP sent you a copy because I called your office. The minimum is explained in that book. At least $11 trillion, direct cash payments, land allotment, tax exemption, free education, the Freedmen's Bureau returning to close all disparity. That's the minimum. This country can't bring back all the people they take it from us, but they can at least make a big down payment, like a $65 billion, give us our $65 trillion.
Come through. Okay, I'm gonna stop that right there because introducing. Let me stop it, y'all. Lord have mercy, it's just Rich. Because he ain't got no answer. So we might as well bring up the incomparable, the firebrand. I don't even know. All the ancestors was just speaking through this brother, challenging Jim Clyburn. Your next congressman of District 6, South Carolina, Mr. Greg Marcel Dixon is in the building.
Hey, Angela.
The mic, I got the, here's the phone. Look, I dropped the phone. This is the mic. Oh my God.
Well, I want to say I didn't know about your mother. I'm so sorry to hear about that. Is she from South Carolina?
No, sugar. We from Dayton, Ohio. You might not know it, but I am the daughter of an original Ohio player.
Oh.
So yeah, that's where I was born and raised. And the intro to the show is my incredible brother, Robert Sine. He's got about 2 albums out, but I come from a very musical family. And I thank you for your
too. And I can't, and no, people always ask me if I can sing because my voice projects so well. And that's because I grew up in a really loud family. But my grandfather was a band director for South Carolina State and then University of South Carolina. And he released some jazz albums. And my grandmother, my father's father and my mother's mother, my grandmother, was in a singing trio too. And I've never been into music. My sister can pick up any instrument and play it with no problem. So it's somewhere in our lineage.
That's my brother. I mean, my baby sister came home in the 5th grade, I think it was, and she brought a violin to the house. By dinner, my brother was playing. Okay. She on the other hand would have to take a series of lessons what he could pick up just by ear and sight.
And do it. Yeah, my sister can do that.
That's because we're just a rich, amazing, incredible people.
We are.
The people over here are giving up fire in the chat. I see you, Hero Hunter Black. Guru, Marcel is the real deal, Mr. 40 Gulas and a Geechee.
That's right. Yeah, you know, that's right.
LD Ward out of Chicago. Interception by Marcel. Dixon fire. He's on the floor with laughing emojis. Brian said he had old dude fumbling. He got the football. They funny. Darlene Krumady says fire. Erie Black Fire is giving up all manner of applause. Jamie Bernor is setting off the sound alarms with these little horns. Baby, that intro was just the only way to introduce you. While we're on the topic of Biden, I'm just going to add, this is a flow, honey. It ain't as formal. I'm not
I
like
am very informal.
I'm not formal.
You can probably tell on my Twitter, I am like the most informal person to probably ever run for Congress. And trust me, I've lost a few friends because of me. They feel I'm not disciplined enough. They feel I'm not safe enough. People tell me I don't know how to do politics because if you see me on Twitter, I tweet at these sellouts. I tweet at Clyburn, Ayanna Presley. I tweet at all of them. I call them sellouts. I call them coons. And if people don't like it, if the shoe fits, wear it. If the shoe don't fit, you can't wear it. So don't get mad. So, but yeah, I'm very informal, as people have come to notice.
I just love that. Okay, because over here it's just family. I just love us Black and strong. And when I see breakout stars, we've got 4 very strong reparationist candidates running for Congress. And I love seeing you guys lean in. It is just rich to me. You are, Tamara Johnson Shealy is running to unseat Warnock. Mm-hmm. Reverend William Somerville is running here in the 42nd and 47th districts out here in LA, Long Beach and some of the surrounding cities. But I'm proud of you, bro. And I am so grateful because you've been on much bigger platforms than mine. And for you to drop everything to bless me with an appearance and to speak to my audience, who might be small, but they're mighty. Most of the people that come here are the real grassroots. They're the ones that can help make it go viral. They're the ones that are going to pick up a phone. They're the ones.
And I want to say that first of all, I feel that, and people tell me no, because on one hand, I say to people, even if I were to fail, which I'm not, but I say to people, if I fail, at least I know that in order to fall, you have to first stand up. So I stood up for something. I tell people that. But second of all, when I started, and my campaign is getting some momentum now, because there are studies to show the new Black media, which you are a part of, is really the thing to which more of us tune into than the mainstream media. The mainstream media is not going to have you on there. They're not going to have Ward on there. They're not going to have Tamara Shealy on there. They're not going to have, Friday Jones and Marlon. I could shout out so many people who don't get a lot of credit, Samantha and Cherie, and I could shout out so many names. If I shout out all the people like Antonia, I will be on here all week. So I'm not going to shout everyone, but they're not going to have us on TV because they know we're not going to sit there and let them say what I saw on Tiffany Cross. Now, keep in mind, I used to be a big fan of Tiffany Cross on MSNBC because she always talked about being impoverished and how even when she was on the news, she would be very honest about not being able to afford her health insurance. And she used to be the only mainstream media hostess, which all the hosts and hostess, who would mention reparations. She used to go hard for it. Even though she may not have been where we may be or may not be where everyone else was, she would mention it. I just saw her, though, yesterday. Let that Espiat guy from New York, the Representative Espiat, he used to be a legal, undocumented illegal alien, but now he's somehow got his paper. He's a congressman, so now he feels that he could try to leech off of our history. He had the audacity to say that immigrants have always been the backbone and the labor force of this country. And Tiffany Cross and Jason Johnson and that sellout Chantel Brown from Ohio, who defeated Nina Turner with Clyburn's help, sat there and let him get away with that. If I was on television, first of all, I threw my damn phone at the screen. I'm not even exaggerating how angry I became. if I was on that set, they would have been cutting to a damn commercial. Commercial break real quick. You see, they don't want this energy on their sets. So and guess what? I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. Okay? I'm here in the low country. And those who don't know, it's a very subtropical coastal part of starting usually with southeastern South Carolina, from Charleston down to Jacksonville, Florida, especially the low country of South Carolina and Georgia. Very coastal, very swampy. So, of course, we're filled with snakes here. And I know snakes very well. Snakes crawl up through our drainage hole in our tubs. Snakes fall from our roof. Snakes fall from the trees. We got snakes everywhere. I know snakes. And one of the things that makes snakes very, very intimidating creatures is you don't hear them until they strike. And by the time you hear them coming at you, it's too late. So I want to be like a snake. I want them to underestimate me. I want them to ignore me. And like a snake, they're not going to know that I'm there until I done bit them. So I like them ignoring me now.
I love that. Thank you for that insight. Yeah, there are quite a few pretenders in office that we've got to work to unseat. I mention all the time that we need a strategy.
Yes.
When it comes to these trifectas are killing us. You were mentioning in your statement to Clyburn about the words of Jim Crow Joe is what I call him affectionately.
That's exactly what I call him too. Jim Crow Joe. That's exactly
I'm gonna try to keep it.
No, please don't. I call him the segregationist in chief. And I tell people this is on record. Every interview, I never refer to him as Joe Biden. I have much, much worse nicknames for him. The nicest ones are Jim Crow Joe or segregationist in chief. That's the nicest thing I can say about that guy. I really don't like that guy.
What I don't like is how we've been duped into believing that Trump is more of a racist than the man who eulogized Strom Thurmond, than the man who authored the 94 crime bill that has close to 2 million of our Black men on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go on and on, but I want to get your perspective when it comes to how we, 87% of our electorate, voted to unseat Trump, who had far more advances for Black folks than Biden to date. We are a year into his office, and we've seen nothing but a Juneteenth holiday and a hip-hop holiday in August. We've seen nothing substantive when it comes to social justice nor economic inclusion as he gives away our reparations to Asians and Indians and the Hispanics, and he consistently gives away protections to people who are not harmed by the race soldiers, the ones that are hired with our tax dollars on the police force, along with the deputized. They get protections when they're not being executed with immunity. They're not being taken off to jail in the record numbers that we are. Many of whom are there for nonviolent offenses while the state turns a profit on the very weed that we can't even sell because we can't even get into the game now that they've commercialized it and made it a tax haven. I want to hear from you about why that's problematic that we continue showing up to the polls to our peril.
Well, first of all, I want to say, even if it's, an argument can be made that Donald Trump anti-Black in the private sector because he and his father, faced some lawsuit because of discriminating against Black Americans, who I will refer to as freedmen, our descendants of the people who were enslaved by the American government. Even if that's okay, and Donald Trump is irrelevant to me. When you have to refer, and I say this to people who support Joe Biden, when you have to defend him by saying, well, he's better than Trump, you already know you done lost the debate. If your only defense of someone is that they're a better person than Donald Trump, you've lost the debate. But even if Trump, which I never did research on it, but I guess it's true that he did was sued for discriminating against our people in the 1970s. That's the private sector, and that's bad. I will say this, though. Whatever damage Trump did to us in the private sector, Joe Biden did 5,000 times worse in the public sector, because unlike Trump, Biden had congressional power. Before he even wrote that 94 crime bill, we tend to forget he was trying to push Nixon to ramp up mass incarceration in the 1970s. You know you are anti-black bigot when Nixon tells you you're going too far, okay? Even before that, what about the statement he made, the quote that I quoted to Clyburn? He said he'll be damned if he feels guilty for the sins of his forefathers. Yet this is the same person that comes into office and he right away repeals executive orders that Donald Trump did to keep illegal immigration at bay. So he's okay with repealing the sins of forefathers when it affects Hispanics, white-skinned Hispanics, and either they want to be white or they identify as white, even if they look like you and I. He's okay with repealing that. He's okay with repealing legislation when it negatively affects the LGBTQ. He's okay with repealing legislation when it negatively affects Native Americans. But when it comes to dealing with the sins of the forefathers, the original forefathers who are enslaving, raping, and denying us our constitutional rights, oh, he doesn't want to touch that. That shows, the Bible says, since, I know Clyburn's going to be trying to quote scriptures because he thinks that South Carolina is so dumb. All he has to do is sing a Negro spiritual and quote scriptures, and everybody's going to do souls to the polls for him. That's how little he thinks of us. He really thinks that we don't need policies to come out to vote. He thinks we are going to be fooled by symbolism. So since Clyburn, I know he's going to go to quoting scriptures to try to make up for his terrible record. The Bible says, out of the abundance of a man's heart, his mouth speaks. What another thing that Joe Crow did is he said in an interview that he didn't want his children going to school with Negroes because he didn't want his children growing up in a racial jungle. Now, we already know I am in South Carolina, okay, the state that holds the crown when it comes to passing legislation of anti-black. South Carolina was the first state to implement black codes. It had not been heard of in North America and the Americas, nor even in Barbados, because the first slave plantation style system that South Carolina had was from Barbados. South Carolina was the first state to implement the slave codes. For the longest, it was well recognized throughout the British colonies that the most brutal form of chattel slavery was in South Carolina. South Carolina, during the Reconstruction Jim Crow era, passed 40-something laws in a day, all to deprive freedmen, Black Americans, Native Black Americans. So South Carolina holds the crown when it comes to anti-Blackness. Whenever Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, or New York and California, because I'm tired of people acting like they're not anti-Black too, they are. Whenever they say they want to be anti-Black, South Carolina, hold my beer. That's South Carolina. South Carolina has a guy, Maurice. If anybody's ever been to South Carolina, Maurice is, he's deceased now, but he used to have a barbecue stand. And he used to fly the Confederate flag, and he wanted to keep his restaurant segregated. So no Black person ever really went there. And the irony of him doing barbecue, which has a lot of roots in our freedmen culture, Black American culture. But when Stevie Wonder was coming to perform at a college graduation for the University of South Carolina, Maurice got into big headlines saying, we don't want no Jungle Bunny music here. So everyone knows the association, the anti-Black association of the word jungle with Black people. When Joe Biden said he didn't want his kids growing up in a racial jungle, we know exactly what he was trying to say about us. He was evoking images of us being savages who need to be civilized. So how we let that guy get away with all his anti-Blackness, vote for him, is beyond me. Now, I will say this, though. The good news, if there's any in this, is that less than 50% of our people tend to come out and vote. And why? I mean, what? And I tell them, don't tell me to get out and vote. Give me a reason to come out and vote, okay? How many decades have Black Americans been voting? How many decades have we fought for the right to vote? And how often have we voted just to have whatever party that we voted to support turn their backs on us? The Republicans turned their backs on us when they did not punish the Confederates, and then they failed us in Reconstruction, and the Democrats turned their back on us when they sold our civil rights to people of color. And all of a sudden, white women became a minority. And now affirmative action, which I like to apply to us, it mainly benefits white women. Black Americans are still with no wealth, still less likely to be hired for jobs which were qualified. And even a Black American who's college educated and is a professional still has less wealth than a white high school dropout. That's the legacy the Democrats have left. The Democrats left a legacy since we voted for them in the 1960s, where we now have less homes. And we went from owning 15 million acres in the 1950s to now just owning 1 million. And we are the most loyal Democratic voters, the same way we were the most loyal Republican voters. So both parties have let us down. So our people usually don't come out and vote. So the good news is there's one half of us who are just giving away our vote. We're not demanding anything for it. The other half of us is so fed up, disillusioned, apathetic, they just give up on voting. Both are problems and both need to be addressed. And that's where my campaign is going to come in to do that.
I just love that. You said so much, and I could say so much in response. But I want to have you share why it's important that we turn out to vote, but with a strategy. Now, my strategy is not very popular, but I push on it because, as I've said in other spaces, that Dr. Claude Morris, pastor of Abyssinian Church, when we delivered Teddy Roosevelt the vote, and he gave us his ass to kiss by
excluding us from the New Deal,
dishonorably discharging 167 Buffalo soldiers who were wrongfully accused of murdering a second white man after being quarantined to their barracks for being wrongfully accused of murdering the first. Dr. Charles Morris said, "You shot us when our guns were empty, and for that we're going to return the same by delivering a blue top of the ticket and a red Congress to protect the Black South." Now, trifectas only help immigrants and white folks because, and let me explain why. Everybody's got their strategy. When you get these immigrants coming to this country and you get Jim Crow Joe agreeing with the ACLU to enrich illegal immigrants, 450,000 per person, you're really buying the vote. You're saying, ACLU, we need to win. We're going to flood the country with H-1B visas while setting up a preschool to prison pipeline for Blacks. This is the way they're using our reparations, to flood the country with refugees, flood the countries with immigrants, but they don't stop at that. They've got to enrich them so that they can make them more American than us, because capitalism needs a bottom caste. And so you've got a Jim Crow Joe who agrees with the ACLU to give illegals who, oh, by the way, send their kids over the border to make the case to be enriched, 450,000 apiece. They're doing it on purpose. This is not something that's happening to them. They are deliberately sending them across the border to make a case with the ACLU to sue the government. And Biden's okay with that. Why? Because he's buying the vote. He knows he's in trouble. He and Kamala's numbers are in the toilet, literally. They're doing even worse than Trump in some polls.
Yes, they are.
And so he's using our reparations to buy the immigrant vote. But let me tell you their strategy. I figured it out. Even they've got a strategy. Even they are rewarded for caping for their own groups, while we're called xenophobe for highlighting the BS. When I point out the BS, when you, Marcel, point out the BS, we are called the most heinous names, and thank God we stopped giving a damn. But anywho, I digress.
Right. That's right.
I digress.
I sure don't give a damn what they call me.
Right. They call me names because I speak out to point out the fact The immigrants are doing 300 times and greater in wealth position with our reparations that's given to them by the Democrats who are the Dixiecrats, okay? So
right.
This is the strategy of the immigrants. Everybody got a strategy but black folks. Black folks too afraid to be called a Trump supporter. I don't give a good goddamn. Let me explain. I am here to weaponize the vote until I can get 200 Marcels in Congress. That's my strategy. 200 Marcels and Tamara Johnson Shealy's and Reverend William Somerville's. We ain't gonna ever get it. Let me explain something to you. You ain't getting nothing right now, and you got a trifecta. Name me when we had a trifecta with Obama. He doubled down on no to reparations, which is why the government and the Congress and the CBC gives you their ass to kiss. Okay, let me go back. The strategy for the immigrants, when they're making less than 50,000, they're Democrats. 50,000 and greater, they switch to the Republican Party. What I'm telling you is while we still have a majority, Freedmen, we need a strategy of a red top and a blue Congress to protect the over 60% of freedmen who rely on government assistance by design of institutional systemic racism until we can replace the lanes with full-chested cash reparationists like Mr. Greg Marcel Dixon. So I'm talking strategy. Don't you stay your ace at home. We cannot afford to stay home because guess who ain't staying home? Immigrants and white folks. So if you stay your ace at home, don't cry me a river talking about what you ain't got when you refuse to invoke a strategy to help your people when you clearly see a trifecta of either party is to our peril. It has cost us 20 million babies through abortion, fooling with these Democrats.
I know.
And the trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just saying all that to say we need a strategy. What do you think about mine?
So my strategy, because my attitude is I'm for pro-reparations. Whichever avenue gets my people there, safe and securely, I am for. So instead of me giving my opinion on your strategy, I'm just going to give mine because I'm going to have to be the one selling my platform to South Carolina voters. I will say this in regards to yours, though. I get exactly what you're saying because if not for, and by no means am I praising this guy and that lady, but if not for Cinema and Manchin, the Democrats, and that's exactly why I call Democrats who don't look out for Black Americans. That's basically all of them. If not for Joe Manchin and Cinema, the Democrats would have easily passed that Build Back Better, whatever they're trying to do.
Build Back Better plan.
Build Back Better plan.
Which
and I'm not sure
excludes
to talk
us.
my camera.
It excludes us.
Build Back Better plan. They would have easily passed that. And they would have added protection on there for illegal aliens. They would have had them being exempt from being deported. They would have given them resources because they literally said they wanted to use budget options for DACA recipients. So not just changing legislation to protect them from being deported for illegally being in our nation, but also to give them government resources. So you're right. I see exactly what you're saying. We need someone, assuming that the Republican is going to be anti-immigrant, because they play the game, too, of saying they're anti-immigrant, when really, when you go to their mansions, you see who they have working mainly for them. They're just smart enough to know that if they get these illegal aliens in here, the ones that are 50,000 and under will not vote for them, and they might put their seats in jeopardy. Of course, we know they're just as anti-Black, but we have to weaponize our votes. So I get exactly what you're saying. But here's my strategy. And I tell my students, I ain't never going to tell you to do something that I have not done already, I have not seen work, and I can't model to show you that it works. So my strategy is this. And I have to tell a quick story because where I am, we always tell stories. When I came across the reparations movement, I came across so much data. I always knew we never got our fair share. I mean, I hope even the coons should know that. Well, there are some who are so lost, maybe they don't. I don't care. But I always knew we weren't getting our fair share as Black Americans who are descendants of those who were enslaved in this country, freedmen. But when I started getting the specific data, I was like, wow. And when I discovered that where I grew up was indeed as poor as I thought it to be, the 6th poorest out of 435 districts, with Clyburn being in office for 30 years, inexcusable. I was validated, and I wasn't surprised, but I was still a little shocked that, wow, so it was all true. My feelings of growing up feeling that we really deserved better and that things were just a way worse here than it should be was true. I was around people who were well-informed and well-studied and always telling me that they know politics and have resources and have resumes that were very impressive. And my attitude, because I was hearing everybody say it, about running against these sellouts, I was like, hey, let's do it. I can't wait to work for you. I can't wait to volunteer for you. Anyone who knows me, and you said it, and thank you for acknowledging this, is that when I can, I show up for things.
Yes, you do.
Whether it's a rally in D.C., a rally in Atlanta, if I can't be there, I'm promoting it on Twitter. I'm donating. I'm defending it. I'm advertising it. I'm helping to arrange it. When I can help people, I do. Even if I may not like everyone involved. You see, that was being on code means. You can't be on code and in your feelings. Some of us haven't gotten that yet, and they know who they are. But anyway, I'm not even going to go there. But I kept talking to all these people who said they knew politics. So I was waiting for someone to run. After I confronted Clyburn, and you saw the man had no compassion for us, you see, we have to remember behind these statistics are human beings. It's our people crying themselves to sleep at night hungry, living in cars, mothers and fathers and cousins and aunts and uncles going to funerals, people losing their sisters and aunts and cousins to child mortality, just having a child, kids coming to school with mental illness not being treated, our ancestors having land that they work hard and cities that were hard to build being burnt down. We need to see their faces and see the pain, emotional and mental, they were going through, and stop just looking at these numbers and citing them like there's some damn poem or a rap song. These were real people. We are real people. This is real pain. So after I confronted Clyburn and saw that he clearly didn't give a damn, what you didn't see happen is that not long after I confronted him, a lady who's in charge of the Democratic Party here in Bluffton, South Carolina, which Bluffton's the next town. By the way, I'm originally one of the poor towns of South Carolina. Bluffton's the richest town. Bluffton used to be majority Black, now it's majority white. Go figure. That's what they're trying to do to people. That's what the topic. She had the audacity in that Black freedman space to talk about dreamers and illegal immigrants. Another Black young man cut her off like, hey, this is about us right now. And I'm glad he did. What you didn't see was I was in a parking lot, a guy who opened up with prayer came and tried to defend Clyburn, talk about something, how he's from Brunswick, Georgia, a very poor Gullah Geechee town in Georgia. And he made it out, and he doesn't think Clyburn is unsympathetic to us. I said, what you think is irrelevant. What I think is irrelevant, because everybody loves the Bible here. The Bible says you recognize a tree by its fruit. So whether you like him, this is the fruit that his tree has borne. Deal with it. So the point I am making is that I was hungry for someone to really run against Clyburn and put him in his place. It wasn't happening. So I finally woke up and said, I'm going to do it. My strategy is this. We need to be like our ancestors of old. I'm in South Carolina, a special state. South Carolina is special for so many reasons. It's the first state to send a freedman to the U.S. Congress. Joseph Rainey, he was the first Black person in American history to serve in National Congress. South Carolina was the first state to have a majority Black state government, state legislator. Then Robert Smalls, who is my inspiration for running. South Carolina. These were our ancestors. Do you know a lot of them were illiterate? Do you know they ran while having white lynch mobs burn down their homes, outside their homes, threatening voters to vote for them? And at the time, the Republicans who should have been punishing these Confederates was sitting there trying to bake bread to get benefits and sell us out. And yet our ancestors literally went from the plantations to the pulpit in the Capitol. Like, we literally went from the plantation to Congress. If they can do it, facing absolutely not having any equal rights recognized by law, being illiterate, having far less wealth, and I know we still don't have any wealth now, having far less wealth than we do now, what is stopping us? So my strategy is we need to stop trying to, we need to do more than just try to like strategize and weaponize our votes to get policies from them. My plan is to strategize for us to replace them. And I said before I implement my plan, I want to be the one to implement my plan. You get what I'm saying? That's why I am running against Clyburn, because I said we have to be like our ancestors of old. They didn't just sit on the plantation and say, well, what can we do to get them to treat us right? They said, hell with y'all, I'm going to Congress. Think about the strength that took to go from being formerly enslaved to now say, I'm going to serve in the federal government, the same government that betrayed me and deprived my constitutional rights. If they can do it, so can we. So I'm a fan. There's 50 million of us, according to the phony census, but they already said they undercounted us by 12 million. So I will say, yeah, and that's what preliminary data is showing. The last time in 2010, they said 800,000. Full data came out, it was 4 million. This time, preliminary is 12 million. Who knows what the real number is? But there's at least 50 to 62 million of us, okay? We only have 435 districts in the House, okay? And in the Senate, there are what? I'm running for the House. The Senate, there's what, 2 senators per state or something like that? So there's more than enough of us to run for office. I will take you or anyone in your audience can go to Congress and destroy any anti-Black, anti-reparations talking point. There's enough of us to get ourselves organized to get into office. So that is my strategy, that we now run for office. And I don't have any money. I always tell people don't realize this. I'm probably the poorest of the bunch, not because of the fact that I just live in a very poor state, which is South Carolina, but also I live in a very poor county, and I went to the lowest performing school district in my county, and in fact, I'm a teacher. But then when I was born, my mother and father didn't have any wealth to leave me. My father has a lot of heirs property, but he doesn't get a dime from it because it's heirs property. So if I can do it, and I know that's a cliche saying, I was no one and I'm still nobody. When I first started, I was not well known. I had no presence of social media. I didn't have any idea of how politics work. I was never previously involved in politics. I spent hours on the phone with the FEC. I had people who were reparationists turn their backs on me. I can even show you the text message if I want to be messy about some of the awful things people who say that for reparations said to me because I wasn't the safe candidate, because I wasn't guaranteed to win. It's amazing how quickly some of us folded under pressure. We always say we're not our ancestors. Yeah, that's true for a lot of us. Well, hell not, because our ancestors were about that life. So I want us to run for office, especially in states that have a large Black population like South Carolina. That's my plan. And going with yours, that's right. If they don't vote for us, then give them hell.
Absolutely.
They will do politics for us. Give them hell. Yes.
Well, I love that strategy, but I think we're pretty much talking the same strategy. My goal is, while we still have an advantage, while we still have the numbers, if we could learn to move as a block and at least slow down the government by delivering a red top and a blue Congress, it would afford us the much needed time to make people like yourself and other reparationists who are running relevant enough.
That's
because
right.
None of us have the money, but we've got the power of our vote.
You know what I want to say, Angela, though? It's a good thing that the Republicans are awful, but I will say this. The Republicans are awful, but when they get in office, they come with the attitude of, we're gonna do what the hell we want to do. They don't come in and, when the Democrats get in office, it's a good thing the Democrats are so awful that they can't get policy done. Because if they could, we would have 12 million illegal aliens right now, running around calling themselves citizens, calling our children the N-word and cotton picker, and it does happen. Ain't no one gonna tell me it don't happen, because I work in school and it's happened, and I've checked the hell out of kids who are the children of people who are in this country legally. I've checked the hell out of them good. So it's funny, when I come around, they get on their best behavior. I wonder why, because they can tell who's just not with the nonsense. But it is a good thing that the Democrats can't get anything done. I take that back. That's a lie. They can get things done. They can get things done for everyone but us, because they sure as hell did something for Asian Americans within a snap of a dime. Joe Biden just did executive action to give the Native Americans the highest level, historic levels of funding for their needs. And now they're trying to do this new deal for new Americans, but ain't done a goddamn thing to pay even a penny on what they owe us, freemen, Black Americans, the true and the strongest Americans.
The true and the strongest Blacks in the world. You have to understand that these Africans and the Caribbean, no shade, no tea. I have immigrant friends, but I also have no tolerance. This is not an anti-immigrant rant. This is an anti-weaponization of immigration against freedmen rant.
That's right.
To keep us tethered to the Titanic of this country for the sake of white folks' capitalism. Because unbeknownst to them, they are being used too. What I'm trying to say is that they fled their Holocaust because we are still fighting ours.
That's right.
So you have to understand, family, that this country does not let immigrants in that love freedmen.
No,
they're allowing freedmen, they're allowing people that hate freedmen. They are working to create new Black and POC white oppressors because their numbers are falling off. And just like they made the Italians white, they made the Irish white, they made the USJ white, they are making Hispanic white.
Even Indians are classified as white.
Indians as dark as us white.
Yeah, not just dark. Don't look nothing like a white person. Exactly. And
So
you know what the sad thing is? In Latin America, there is a term called mejorando la raza. It means bettering the race. You can say it to any person who's Spanish speaking from Latin America, or maybe they're not, but they won't know what that term means. It's a mindset in Latin America of procreate with a white Latino so you can dilute the Black African blood in you. They tried to practice that on a legislative manner in Dominican Republic, in Colombia, in Venezuela. They tried to literally welcome Nazis from Germany just so they can have more white people, so they can try to dilute the number of Black descendants. Now, it failed because Brazil is now the blackest it's ever been. So, but still, it failed. So that's the type of attitude, though, some of them are coming to this country with, of whiteness is their goal. In Puerto Rico, which is a country of American territory that has a pretty high level of people who have African ancestry. Even in Puerto Rico, a person, when they get to a certain economic status, will classify themselves as white, even if they look like you and I. It ain't something I'm making up. People can look it up for themselves. I dare someone to do it and prove me wrong.
Well, that's to my point, right? Like they fled their colonizers. They've left their poor in the dust to fend for themselves. This is why I boast that Freedman Black is the strongest in the world, because we still have the weight of the world on our shoulders, and our reparations is being used to make these groups comfortable to our peril. Understand something, family, that the color of white is and has always been green. This is why you can have a Clyburn be a black-white oppressor. Why you can have a Barack Obama be a black-white oppressor. Okay? I know y'all don't want to hear that because some of you who are not enlightened believe Barack Obama was a second coming. But you can't run me not one thing he did favorable for blacks. Even when he was letting people out of jail, he wasn't letting our politically imprisoned persons of freedmen out of those prisons. He wasn't doing any of that. So I know he's some of y'all's Jesus, but understand that the trick of the devil is to make you think he never existed.
You know what I want to say?
Yes.
Here's the sad thing. Barack Obama literally admitted to being a coward. He literally said he would have done reparations, but it would not have been, what was the term he used? Feasible, or it would have been too much of a backlash. So this is the same guy, though, who by executive order gave protection to children and to illegal immigrants, the Dreamer Act. That was okay. He could take the backlash on that. This is the same guy who made it, who federally made it permissible, gay marriage permissible. But the thing where he drew the line was reparations for us. He couldn't grow a backbone on that. So he literally said he wasn't strong enough to fight for us. Now I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen with this here though. Clyburn's gonna take this clip because he thinks, again, this is what he thinks of black South Carolinians. He thinks we are so, oh, yo, Obama, I can't vote for him, boy. I can't mess with him, boy. That's what he's going to do. He's going to take this clip and say, do you want a man, great Marcel Dixon, who thinks this about Barack Obama? And he's going to play that. But let me tell you what Clyburn can't do.
My apologies.
No, I ain't apologizing. I don't know. It's okay. I done criticize Obama on Twitter. It's all right. I done called him out on Twitter. So Clyburn, he didn't have to wait for this. He already got ammunition like that. Clyburn's record is so poor, he has to do things like this. He cannot defend himself using his record. He has to use interviews of me and say that I'm mean and I don't say nice things. I want Clyburn. I'm going to issue a challenge to Clyburn right now. Mr. Clyburn, here's my challenge to you. I dare you to come after me by telling South Carolinians the truth about how good you've been. If you tell us a lie, I'm going to call you out. But I want you to come after me, not using my tweets and say how mean of a person I am. And I'm just so mean on Twitter. I just say so many mean things. And I call people fat. And I say people have 97% forehead. And yes, I do, because they come for me. And sometimes I come back, Mr. Clyburn, I want you just to run on your record, which I know very well. If you thought I ran up on you in that town hall and got you, I want you to tell some lies and think I won't call you out on it. Because I know you got people watching this, or they're going to watch it, because your grandson popped up in a Twitter space and tried to defend you. He couldn't do it. So here's what I'm going to say, though, Angela. Okay,
I'm going to take the flack because I don't want, listen, I'm radical. I am
too. No, it's too late. I already said things about Obama and Clyburn. It's already tweets of me calling people coons and telling people go to hell and Democrats. So no, trust me, I can take it. I tell people, see, here's the problem. People think I'm running just to win. No, I'm running to make reparations happen. And here's the funny thing. Even though I am going to win, I don't need to win to make reparations happen. Reparations is going to happen if win or lose. The best thing that can happen, that is already happening, is Clyburn now sees that this reparations movement is real. He never expected someone from a poor county like Jasper County, whose net worth is probably in the negative, because most of the time student loans eat up. He never expected someone with no political connections, no big donors to ever be a challenge to him. But the fact that now my name is getting tossed around and it's getting to him, it is just surprising to him. But I want to say something. It'll be a cold day in hell. Okay? It'll be a cold day in hell and global warming, global freezing in hell, whatever, before I let any illegal alien use our reparation. That's why on my platform, I say for my public safety plan, immigration will be put to a halt. Okay? First of all,
I love it.
Even legal immigration I'm talking about here now. Now, asylum seekers, that's different, because I am compassionate if a person's going through a massacre that they should be granted safety temporarily. But You are not going to bring doctors here when you have people here who you can invest in and educate to become doctors, who have the aptitude to become doctors. You are not going to bring Indians here to work in Silicon Valley when freemen helped build Silicon Valley, freemen who are still alive, by the way. Dr. Clarence Ellis is deceased, but Marion Croak, the sister who did the technology that we're using right now, voice over internet protocol, she's still alive. You are not going to overlook freemen who with less did things that we should never have been allowed to do and bring other people here where we can get those jobs and you can invest in us. Illegal immigration is a non-starter, but I'm not going to go after the illegal aliens. I'm going after their employers. So with me, E-Verify is going to be mandated, okay? Mandated. And the moment someone hires someone not in this country legally, they are going to get fined. And contrary to that lie people tell that the immigrants are doing jobs that no one wants to do, no, that's us. We did the job that no one else was smart enough to do. Before cotton was king, it was rice. Rice wore the crown, and the Gullah Geechee people grew it. And indigo was the queen. We are the ones who did the animal husbandry. There were some people here in South Carolina, Gullah Geechee, y'all can look it up. They called them snake doctors. It led to us being called root doctors. There were snake doctors here in South Carolina, freemen who were not educated. These were black people, our ancestors. They were so knowledgeable with treating snake bites, with treating poison ivy, with treating other ailments, but mental and physical, that literally the state of South Carolina, the most brutal anti-black state when it came to chattel slavery, literally emancipated them because they said these people were too intelligent and too much of a treasure to protect. Of course, that all of our people were, it should have been treated as such. But what I'm saying is this. We were the ones who did the construction, the land maintenance, the culinary arts. And today you have black Americans, freemen, who are graduating high school because most people do not have a college degree and they can't get the jobs that once upon a time our people dominated. Because what did the Irish do when they came? They got mad and massacred our people, not because they were better fighters, but because it was just more of them. You know, they always attack in larger groups or in the dead of night. When our people will get together and bargain to get good pay for jobs, the Irish will get together in large crowds. Well, you must be a coward if it's 240 of you just to attack 10 of us. You must know not to run up on us the wrong way. Anyway, they would attack our people and then take the jobs that we were bargaining to get better pay for doing and accept the lower wage. It's happening again with these illegal aliens. And that's why we look at these construction firms, these lawn maintenance firms, the culinary art firms, the domestic laborers in the homes who do housekeeping, something for which my great-grandmother retired from doing, is now mainly illegal aliens. Even in my area, which has a very small population of people in this state illegally, and it's still largely a lot of black Americans doing it, but you can tell it's not as many. So you have a lot of young black men, and a lot of times young black women get left out, but young black women too, who are now struggling to even find jobs that don't pay well. That's why I put illegal immigration stopping as part of my public plan. Housing is short supply. It's bad enough that we are losing our land to some of these white families who really got their wealth from slavery, and we just be very honest about that, or stole our land through heirs property of partition sales. But now the little bit of housing that's available that you dare say is quality housing, which is very slim, we now have to compete with another group of people for quality housing. So no one needs to tell me that illegal immigration, whether legally or illegally, is a threat to black America, black Americans who have been here for centuries, because we have the least amount of resources. Even people who come to this country legally within a few years surpass us in wealth and income. That's not the way it should be. Then we have to compete with them for the few resources to which we may have access. That's not the way it should be, and that's not the way it's going to be. So until we get reparations, and even once we do, I'm against immigration. Until our people are taken care of.
That's my point. Before I finish a couple of other points, because I found some things I want to comment on what you said. Family, I forgot my commercial and I forgot my banner. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. And if you feel so compelled, please not only bless the show, but bless Mr. Marcel Dixon with donations. Now, I know you say, well, we don't have any money for that. Let me tell you something, family. You may have to give up a Starbucks, but aggregated dollars gets Marcel the victory, okay? Listen, if I can set up and I'm working at a fraction of my salary, we can't sit back comfortably and make excuses for why we can't give up a Starbucks or a night out for dinner to aggregate these dollars on a monthly basis to deliver him the victory. I know you hear in him what I've always known about him from the first introduction. It feels like a couple of years ago now, well before he even considered challenging Clyburn. I've known his conviction and his commitment to freedmen. And I'm saying, if you really can't help him financially, I want you to volunteer. I have put his website in the description of the show. It's marcelforcongress.com. I'm going to write it in the comments here, although you know I cannot see you if you are on Facebook or if you're on Twitter. I can only communicate and see you in the chat of the Screw Tube. Okay, so I'm going to put marcelforcongress.com. Listen, I'll give up whatever you're giving to me for you to give to him. That is what I want you to do. And like I said, if times are really tight, which I understand, please, please, please sign on to Marcel for Congress and volunteer, because why? He is a real contender who is for freedmen. And we've got 57% Black in South Carolina in his district, which means we got a lot of phone calls to make between now and election time, okay? So back to my other point. Barack Obama, you didn't give him credit for not only being a flat out no to our repair, but he is the founder of the Office of the New Americas for these immigrants all throughout the country. Okay? You forgot to give him credit for that, because I don't give a damn what you say about Trump. Immigration is the albatross around the necks of freedmen, not the necks of white folks and wealthy immigrants who are allowed access to this country with more of our reparations to own and gentrify us straight out of our communities into homelessness. It is the albatross around our necks. So if Donald Trump didn't do a thing for us outside of keeping these illegals out of the country, he had earned our votes on the strength of that alone. Because as Mr. Dixon so eloquently stated, immigration is crippling us. We are the last hired, first to be fired, the highest rates of unemployment. You can't look at the unemployment numbers of immigrants and white folks and think you winning, family. Those are not our numbers. When you see rates of unemployment at 5%, know that it's 20% for Black freedmen. Okay? That is our plight. Not Africans, not Caribbeans. They are all 300 times and greater more wealthy than us, and they are the new Black with our affirmative action. That is what our ancestors died for. The fact that we can become American. And I'm with Marcel Dixon. I am against immigration until you repair freedmen in the quadrillions over multi-generations.
And my thing
is
this.
When I say a red top and a blue Congress, if you can't bring yourself to vote red at the top of the ticket, vote green, vote anybody but blue. Okay, Green Party Libertarian, You can just make room for a red top if you can't stomach it. But I'm going to tell you what I cannot stomach, family. The genocide, the ethno-genocide on our people's head. We've had the mark on our head since we fought and won the Civil War for our emancipation. That wasn't given to us. We fought and died and won that, family. And the mark has been on our head because we refused under Lincoln to allow his cracker ass to expatriate us. That's what we refuse. You're not going to use us as the shoes vis-a-vis the worst heinous chattel slave labor known to the free world and then send us out of the country to fend for ourselves. That's not how any of this is going to work. And so we have responded. And right now, we are a majority. They have you to believe that the immigrants are greater in number than us. They can't count all the immigrants. They're fighting right now to get these illegals over here to guarantee the White House for the next bazillion years for themselves. Because what did I teach you earlier, family? The poorer immigrants vote Democrat. The immigrants that are earning $50,000 or greater, they vote Republican. And I'm telling you, a trifecta of both parties is the death knell for freedmen. Now you'll say, the people I know are doing quite well. Well, of the 3 trillion, I don't even think we share 3 trillion anymore. But of the 3 trillion household dollars that all blacks in this country share, 10% share 2.3 trillion. While 90%, which is predominantly freedmen, share less than 700 billion. So stop it with these, okay, we're going to boycott as consumers. We don't have money to consume, people. You might be able to get your nails done and maybe get a weave here and there, maybe buy a pair of Jordans. But I can promise you this, if you stop doing all of that, it will not close the hundreds of trillions of dollars egregious racial wealth gap that white folks killed and stole from our ancestors' heinous chattel slave labor that they generated with their lives, that immigrants now share in that luxury. So immigration needs to stop, illegal and legal, needs to stop and allow those monies being used to buy their vote for the Democrats on the freedmen, the descendants of freedmen who are on the bottom economically. We've got a 41,000 median national income with a 400,000 median national home price. That's freedman life. That's not African-American life. That's not black life. That's not people of color life. That's not minority life. That's freedmen. 90% of the blacks in the country descend from U.S. chattel slavery, and we are on the bottom, and we must have a strategy like a red top where we can at least get Trump to keep this illegal stuff away so we can live. And I'm grateful to the 2 Republicans in Democratic clothing that were an absolute no to this Build Back Better plan, because let me help you with something else. It hurts white folks too. Asians are doing about $30,000 to $50,000 better than white folks. That's why they're storming the Capitol. Because the Democrats, whenever they get into office, are giving it away to immigrants for the vote. While they're both complicit, I'm here to tell you, I don't really give a damn about the Republicans because we, by and large, vote Democrat. So I'm telling you, we need a strategy, and we are out of time. We've got to take advantage of our numbers being bigger than any singular immigrant group that is going to vote. Their votes are still divided. We're running out of time. With that being said, Marcel, I want to talk a little bit about abortion. I've seen some comments that your stance on abortion is going to hurt freedmen who are poor.
And I'm sorry. Hold on. I've been having some connectivity issues. It's like a weird delay in the audio. It's been freezing a little.
Okay.
Can I?
How about this? How about this? Are you able to call me and I will just put your mic on mute and then
Can I leave it, come right back? Can I leave it, come back in the same link?
Oh yeah, you can. We'll try that because this is too rich, and I don't want to let you go. And my
like when you was talking just now, I missed like most of it, but I heard the abortion part. I'm gonna leave and just come back right in. Sometimes that works with StreamYard.
Okay, wonderful. Then I'll just rant with the audience a little bit.
Okay, I'll be right back in. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, family. So you heard him. He's going to go out and come back in. If this is so rich, please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, family. I'm going to read the comments when he comes back in because I'm sure it's more for him than me, probably. Many of you, I know I am repetitious in what I have to share, but until we reach critical mass, family, this is my square. Teaching you about the current events designed to genocide our people. That is my square, and I can't think of a better way to kick it off than with the incomparable Marcel Dixon, kicking off 2022. I'm going to do my best to come to you every Sunday. It's a lot, family. I need you to understand when you don't see me. Well, this month I was grieving the loss of my mom, but I know she wants me to keep going. Sometimes I can't come to you because I'm advocating, so I've got to get my mind wrapped around a lot of the phone calls. This thing don't happen out of a vacuum, family. We need all hands on deck, okay? Let me explain. There are phone calls to make. There are letters to email, things of this nature. So when you see me in the chat asking for your help, when I call us all to the movement, I need you to drop the emails to the designated people. I need you to make the calls. Family, nobody is doing this for Freedmen. You have to understand that no help is coming. You have to understand that even when people claim to be an ally, they really don't want Freedmen to get these reparations. Why? Because we will be restored to our rightful place as leaders in this country. Yes, we will. We will take it over. And that's what they fear. He's back, y'all. Let me take a breath. Okay, Marcel. So can you hear me now?
Yep. It's way better now.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Are you able? There's a light that's kind of streaming and it's casting like a blur.
Yeah, I know what to do. Give me 1 second.
Okay. And maybe if you turn that off. Okay. He's going to fix the lighting. I'm sorry for the quality. He's in South Carolina. I'm in California. But I hope you can hear it, which is what's most important.
And I'm in rural South Carolina too, so.
Okay, so his Wi-Fi might be a little spotty.
Very bad.
Okay. Oh, it was better until you disappeared just now. Are you there? Forgive the technical challenges, but he is in rural South Carolina. Okay, there he is. That's better. I can see it better. It's not as blurry.
Okay, yes.
Okay. I was speaking on abortion.
Rural South Carolina. Trust me, yeah. It happens all the time.
That's okay. We're going to fix that after we get him elected. Anyway,
yes.
I was talking about abortion, how we've given 20 million beautiful babies back to God since Margaret Sanger's eugenist ass. And that's due in large part to the fact that we are a wealthless group, that they've legislated us down to the bottom. They've neutralized us economically to the point where we can't even afford our children, akin to, say, Hispanics, who have on average about 5 kids per family and growing. They pop out babies on a regular because it is their goal to take the country over, in case you hadn't heard. They're getting political offices. They're doing all manner of things. And like Dr. Claude Anderson said, if you think you got nothing as second-class citizens, just wait until you're fourth-class citizens. So this is becoming more of a caste system in this country with the help of the Democrats. With that being said, some of my people have commented that they don't like your position on abortion. I happen to love it, but I need for my family to be comforted in knowing that it will not, you are not these liberals who sit up here, the Republicans, these conservatives who sit up here and are anti-abortion without giving Freedmen the ability to take care of their seeds. I need you to explain your position and explain how we will be able to afford to have as many babies as we want to populate the country with.
So I want to say one thing. According to the phony census, which I don't trust, even women who classify themselves as Hispanic, their birth rate has like dropped, and Black women, freedmen, are still surprisingly having a lot of children, like at least 600,000 per year. So even with abortion being so high among us, Black American women still have had hover around 600,000 births per year. Imagine how much more we would have if we didn't have to deal with medical anti-Blackness. So I want to say the Republicans are pro-birth. I am pro-life. There's a big difference. Pro-birth means you just want someone that have a baby and then you don't care if the child gets shot by the police or dies from lead poisoning or dies from contaminated water or goes to a poor underfunded school or lives in a neighborhood with high levels of gun violence, or they have no wealth, they have no land, and they're homeless in the street, which describes the condition of many Black Americans today. That's the Republicans. I am what the Democrats claim to be and should be. I am pro-life. So my thing is this. The bigger issue with us when it comes to having children is actually how many Black women die giving birth to children. Okay? That's actually a bigger issue than us having the quote-unquote right to an abortion. I also want to say that this is very personal to me because my grandmother was in my life for barely 9 years, and she left way too soon, and those were 9 wonderful years. She suffered because she contracted some form of hepatitis from bad blood she was given during a pregnancy in the 1960s in New York City. So medical anti-Blackness all the way through. So we need to be more concerned about our people being able to give birth to children, and when their children are here, not to get killed via gun violence, and have the best schools, and have homes, and have wealth, and not to be treated like third, fourth class citizens where we are headed. The main reason for abortion, according to the research as cited by Black women, is economic hardships. When we get reparations, which will be, of course, direct monetary payments, not just to close the racial wealth gap. That's aiming far too low. That's a goal, and that's a good one, but that's like that's the floor. I ain't never start off at the floor. Okay, I'm always wanting to start off on the roof. So we're going to get paid for the physical, mental, spiritual, physiological damage that has been done, the opportunities that we could have had that were lost, the businesses, the communities we built that were destroyed either through anti-Black white lynch mob violence, through heirs property, through eminent domain, as was my community. We are going to have assets, meaning we're going to have land. We're going to have land which will give us wealth. I say this all the time. When my white colleagues leave a job and they'll say, well, Mr. Dixon, I don't have no white privilege. I don't have no money. I got to work. So I say to them, well, how are you quitting then? They'll say, well, after you speak to them for a while, grandfather or grandmother has like 7 properties. They borrow against the equity. And then my white colleagues can go around without a job for 2 years, just living off of the equity. See, that is wealth. White people think we talk about income, we talk about poverty. We're talking about wealth. And then my white colleagues realize, even the ones that may not always agree with what I say, but even they will realize, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Don't mean they agree with my political views, but they get what I'm talking about. That is the difference between having income and having wealth. We're also going to have the Freedmen's Bureau back, which is going to investigate aggressively and deal with issues of wage discrimination, close the disparities where Black Americans usually major in the same fields as white Americans, but we're far less to get a job in these fields and then get far less pay. Those things are going to infuse wealth in our community. So the reason then for having an abortion will cease to exist. Now, that being said, I'm always a person who stands by my convictions. I do want to say something that may not be popular, but I always use this analogy, and hey, I ain't never said, look, I ain't never said I was going to be Mr. Popularity. If I was, I wouldn't be running against Clyburn and Reparations platform, knowing what I'm dealing with around here. Reparations is popular, but with Clyburn having control over the air, he's going to twist and put messages out there that are not true. So I already know that's coming. But I want to say, my great-grandmother, one of the best memories I have of my great-grandmother, and now my mother is even getting into it. I tell my mother, like, she's turning into her grandmother and her mother, is my great-grandmother used to love plants. Not gardening so much, but plants. And one of my best memories with her is when she and an older lady, one of her friends, came over and they were teasing me because I didn't like to get dirt in between my nails. So every time I would have to lift up these trees they wanted to plant, I would check my hands. They were teasing me. It got on my nerves then, but now I look at it as a fond memory. But anyway, I still look at the plants, and I don't want to get too emotional, so I'm not even going to go here, and think about my great-grandmother. So one of the plants that I helped her plant, I look at it and think, I did that. It's like several plants, but this one in particular was really hard, really dirty. I had to get on my knees. It was heavy to carry. I had to keep lifting it up and dig the hole deeper, but they just sat there and gave me orders. But when that plant was a little shrub, and I will be riding my bicycle, or we'll be playing in the yard, my great-grandmother will say, y'all better not go near that plant and kill it before it has a chance to grow. And a lot of people here are like that. They don't want you stepping on their plant. They just plant it because they want the plant to have a chance to grow. If people are that protective of a plant that we know is a seed, and that seed is going to sprout and then become a shrub, and that shrub will go into a tree, and that tree a lot of times is going to bear fruit, how much more so should we not be protected of a black child that is growing within our wombs? Also, when a child is born, a lot of people will say, well, where's the daddy? Where's the daddy? The daddy helped take care of the child too, and I agree with them. And why do I agree with them? Like people will say, the dad helped make that child. So when I talk about abortion, I'm not looking at it from a view of trying to control a woman's body, because it isn't just the product of the woman. Really, the child, the life of the child literally comes from the body of a man, but both make the child. So it can't just be the woman's quote unquote decision when it isn't just the woman's product. And I also want to say this, and I want to be very clear about that. At the end of the day, I teach a lot of black children. I've taught majority black children my entire life. I happen to used to be a black child once upon a time. Black children are amazing.
They are.
Okay? And I want to give all future black children a chance to be future black children. I don't see why we would ever want to get rid of a black child that can be here on this earth. We've done 20 million. Okay? I think it's time that we give our black children time to come here and then enjoy life. Once upon a time in this country, they were cutting children out of our women's wombs. Okay? Now they made it legal for us to do it. And I find it very funny. The only time our white feminist, liberal, democratic allies come out to really go to bat for us is when they want us to have a right to an abortion. They're not out there when we're going to the worst schools. They're not out there when we're being evicted at a far higher rate. They're not out there when our wealth is down here. And after slavery, we only owe 0.5 of America's wealth. And now, centuries later, we just own 3%. They're not making a big deal about that. But let abortion come up. We want black women to have a right to an abortion. The only time they really get loud about our rights and when it comes to an abortion, I find that quite suspicious, and I'm going to stand against it.
I just love it. Oh, thank you. Let's go over, let me see. Okay, are there any other, because I know I wanted to deal with immigration. You really covered that beautifully and how you intend to stop that. You kind of, when you touched on abortion and black children, you kind of satisfied me with those responses. You're basically seeking not just reparations, but immediate solutions to stop the preschool to prison pipeline. That's your subtext. That's what I'm hearing. You're coming up with ways to make sure we can get gainful employment. And I'm certain that you're going to come up with ways for us to make greater incomes, because the sad truth is many of my friends have master's degrees and are now doing gig jobs. Far too many, in my taste. They shouldn't be doing a gig job at all.
May I say something about that?
Yes.
I can't even get into my history too much, just to say that people, I'm sure a lot of our people probably have it worse than me, and I'm sure a lot of our people have it way better than me. My mother never wanted us to go to college. Why? Because as a teenager in the 70s, she would work her way up to become a store manager, and she would see some of her classmates with master's degrees, even doctorates, working under her at a retail store. That was happening to Black people in the 70s. It's even worse now. I want to say something. Oftentimes we hear reparations, and I know I touched on what some is going to be: direct monetary payments, justice for land theft. I also am going to start a commission for Black men and boys. People often say, Black woman, Black woman, Black woman. I love my Black woman. I'm a mama's boy. Hell. Okay? But what is it? I've called hundreds of South Carolinians. I speak with South Carolinians all day. Black women on my job. I'm a teacher. A lot of people in the educational field are Black people. And in my area, very Black area, a lot of Black women. What is it that about? What do a lot of them worry about? They love their Black daughters and they worry about their Black daughters. But whom do they worry about the most? Their Black sons, their Black uncles, their Black male cousins, their Black male friends. So I'm tired of the Democrats trying to make it seem as if there is a divide, like you got to praise Black women and Black men don't mean nothing. If they talk to the freeman women that I talk to here in South Carolina, they are always worried about their sons. I'm a grown man. My two brothers are grown, and I have a sister who's grown, and my mother loves all of us to death. And yet she worries more about us as her sons than she does about our sister. So I'm tired of them trying to do this gender divide. A lot of Black women are not going to be resentful of a politician starting a commission to study the issues, and not study to find out what they are. We know what they are, but to study solutions and aggressively implement them alongside reparations for Black men and boys. Also want to talk about education, because I went in a school district that was so impoverished, and it's the lowest performing school district in South Carolina, which is one of the lowest performing states. If it wasn't for Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, we would be 50. And sometimes we're like 49. I live in an area called the Corridor of Shame. It's an area that is so extremely impoverished that they did a documentary on it. And a lot of it is in Clyburn's area, but it ain't just Clyburn. I'm going to be fair. This started way before Clyburn. But the problem is Clyburn has this 30 years hasn't done a damn thing to make it better.
What's the name of it?
Corridor of Shame. Corridor of Shame. You can look it up. It's a documentary, came out in the early 2000s. You'll be happy to know the poverty is just as bad now as it was then. Those are the type of conditions I am advocating to change. So I want our people to wake up. When the Democrats throw in these things like abortion, gender wars, people of color, they aren't doing that because they give a damn about us. They are doing that to distract us. They want our people to think that the most important issues are how the children who are in the country illegally are sleeping in these facilities along the border. They don't got nothing to do with us. How about they talk about how the freemen, Black American children, are sleeping right here in South Carolina? How about they talk about the Black American children in Denmark, South Carolina, hello, Clyburn, who have had an unapproved chemical put in their water for 10 years? How about they talk about how in Clyburn's district has the highest rate of homelessness is 60% Black. So you know the majority of the people who are homeless are Black. How about they talk about how those black children who are having to sleep in roach-infested motels, because I've taught some of them, so they're not going to tell me I'm just making stuff up, and having to sleep in cars and walk in the rain because they get a flat tire and their parents can't afford to just get a damn new tire. Where is the concern about that? When is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going to come and cry about the crisis in Black America? Okay? We need to stop worrying about these little side issues like abortion and letting these white liberals who pretend to be our friends when they're not wear shirts like abortion is a black issue too. When they start saying to the politicians that they are not going to be voting for you until you give our black brothers and sisters reparations, then we can listen to a goddamn word they have to say. I'm tired of us falling for every goddamn banana in the tailpipe they throw at us. My great-grandmother used to tell me, if you're ever being chased by an alligator, and everybody here in the low country knows this, if you're ever being chased by an alligator, you run in zigzag. Why? Because an alligator runs straight. In this respect, we need to be more like an alligator. We need to focus directly on reparations and keep going stand straight.
I love it. That was fire. Take a breath, brother. Take a breath. I need my church fan to cool you off because that was just fire. That was lit. Now, I see you, Cherie, Herb, Saint, Terry. I see you, family, and all those who are watching on Facebook, on Twitter, here on ScrewTube. I thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Okay, now Cherie Thomas mentioned, I was told to mind my business. Now, Cherie is talking about, I've been scrolling through trying to get to the questions. You guys, if you have questions, Mr. Marcel Dixon, please put them in the chat. I will get to them momentarily. Oh my God. When did we start? A little after 3, 4. Oh, I've almost kept you for 2 hours. My apologies for that. Okay, let me try to wrap up. Cherie was mentioning how she was in Twitter fighting on your behalf, fighting against Clyburn, doing everything she can to get people stayed on a change, which is something our people hate, right? They hate change, but change is necessary or we're finished. This is ethno-genocide of freedmen exclusively. They are not going to get done with us until they can extinct us to as few in number as the Indians. That is the agenda. So she writes, I was told to mind my business since I don't live in South Carolina. I want you to speak to why me in California, Arthur Ward is up in here from Chicago, Brian's in here. Most of my people are all over the country. Please share with us why it is imperative that we get involved, even though we don't live in South Carolina.
Well, I'm going to say this. I mean, people say Twitter's not a real place, but Twitter has real people and has a real impact. And most of my donations, like I have almost $10,000. That may not be anything for a person like Clyburn, but for a person like me, no name, no household name, person who just woke up and said, I'm going to run. And for people to put that level of investment in me, the majority has come from Twitter, and the majority of it has come from people who are not South Carolinians. So it is their business. Let me tell you why it's everyone's business. It's everyone's business because when I get to Congress, which I am, I'm going to have a national platform, okay? I'm going to have a national platform. Whatever bills I'm going to sponsor, I'm not just going to sit around and do usual, co-sponsor bill. No, I am going to sponsor bills, and I'm going to get co-sponsors for it, all for repairing Black America, freedmen. When I do that, whatever vote I take, whatever platform or legislation I choose to spearhead, it's going to have a national impact. I'm not just doing reparations for my fellow Black South Carolinians. I am doing reparations for all of my fellow Black Americans. Yes, I am starting with the issues here in my district, which is a very rural district. And I know people often think rural, they think white Americans. Well, no, my district is a rural district and it's majority black. But here's the crazy thing. Even with my district being rural and majority black, the issues that impact my district, you can find in urban areas, you can find in suburban areas. It just goes to show how we as freemen, those of us who share that lineage, those of us who have the blood of those who were emancipated at the end of the Civil War running through our bodies, we have a lot of the same challenges because as a lineage, we've been afflicted with the same government-sanctioned anti-blackness. So it definitely matters. I will also say, people have told me that I'm facing up. People have made the comment that, wow, you trying to get this done in South Carolina? As if, South Carolina is a very difficult state. And maybe it is. But when has it not been? That's when I ask the question. When has South Carolina not been a difficult state for freemen? We were the majority in this state in 1703 and stayed that way until almost the 1960s. It's always been hard for us. So if I'm going to have a hard life, and my life has been hard, as we all have had our challenges, if I'm going to have a hard life, then I'm going to make it mean something.
Amen to that.
And I also want to say that I'm getting into, this is where, the rubber meets the road, so to speak. I am now to a point where Clyburn is starting to attack me, not by name, but I know that's coming. Do I care? No. What's he's going to do? He's going to edit things and make it seem like I said things I didn't say. He's going to spread lies. Whatever the hell he wants to do, that's fine with me. What I'm saying is here's the benefit I have that Clyburn doesn't have. People already know him, and people that know him well know that it has failed us. His record, I don't give a damn about him as a person. His record has been one of failure of Black America. Anyone who knows him knows that. People don't know me. So here's the benefit. All I got to do is mention my name to one person, and I've already gone up dramatically, people that know me. I got to mention my name to 40 people. Now this many people know me. I started off so far at the bottom, I only have up to go. Now that I've called hundreds of South Carolinians, they know me. They know my name. They heard my message. I am now trying to get some mass communication tools, speaking English, not Geechee, some mass communication tools where I can contact at least 300 to 400,000 people. But it takes money. One, I have to purchase the data of the voters. That's money. Two, I have to purchase the system to contact them in a relatively short period of time. That's money. I have a commercial that I'm going to launch on air. That's money. Then I have a printed material that I'm going to send out to people. And I'm not going to divulge what that is. But Clyburn, if he knows the basics of politics, he knows this is like basic political contact 101. But what I send out, once I send this thing out, I know Clyburn's going to come at me, guns a-blazing. But guess what? Ain't going to be no eyes on it. But I have to get hundreds of thousands of this thing printed. That's money. Then I have to get packaging and stamps and then pay for shipment. That's money. The thing I am saying to people is that I am not being ungrateful. For me to have almost $10,000 in just 3 months, for people to invest in little old me, people know my personality on Twitter. They know that I'm pretty, I guess, wild. That's what people would say. I call myself just being authentic and real. I'm authentic. I'm real. I'm actually, people won't believe this, I'm actually quite a quiet, stay to myself person. But when it comes to my people, I take that. I'm like a moth. I come out that cocoon, and this is what you get. But when it's for my people, I put my usual reserves, like to be to myself nature, aside. What I'm saying is that my mother is always into eating for your blood type. She's always into this homeopathology stuff. And my mother when I used to say to my mother, eating healthy costs so much. My mother would say getting sick in the hospital and going through pain costs even more. So what I'm trying to say, y'all, is whatever sacrifice we make now to get rid of Clyburn, it's going to be less painful and less deadlier than if he gets reelected. Because look, y'all, they literally see us getting killed on television. They literally saw a group of Black children in a classroom in 0 degree weather in Michigan, freezing to the point where in the photograph you can see the condensation from the warmth of the children's breath. And they literally, you saw the frost on the window. We have poisoned communities. We have literally no wealth. It's all 2053. We might be at zero wealth now. Black women, at least 30% of Black families are at negative wealth, negative net worth. None of this has pushed the Congressional Black Caucus, I call them something else, but I'm trying to be polite. None of this has pushed them to do a damn thing for us. None of it. If we think they're ever going to feel bad about what they're doing to us, to the point where they're going to say, well, let's find some of our people, y'all. We can't let this keep going on. They're not going to do it. They don't care. The wickedness and the evil and the hatred they have towards us is deep. And guess what? It's mutual, because I feel that times 1,000 towards them. But what I'm saying, we cannot just let these people waltz back in office. We have to give them hell, or they're going to give us a bunch of illegal immigrants, call them citizens, use them to vote for them. They're going to turn on them, which we all know, and I'm going to enjoy every bit of that. But they are not going to make us 5th and 6th class citizens. They're not going to deny us a day longer of our reparations. Not on my watch.
I just love you for it. Okay, we're almost out of time. What's up, Tansy? Hi, Jacaranda. And to those of you who are tuning in from all over, I thank you so much for joining us live. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and set up monthly payments. Give up your Starbucks, family. Give up your McDonald's. He needs help from all over the country. We need people to make dials to the 57% of Blacks in his district. We need people to donate 10,000. Do y'all hear this brother serving up this fire for Freedmen? You know good and well he deserves to have hundreds of thousands pour into his coffers, and we may not be able to do it individually, but collectively we can get these dollars aggregated. But even greater than the money, family, it's the vote. We've got to call up South Carolina and get that 57% to the poll for Marcel Dixon, okay? So please, marcelforcongress.com. I just want to thank each of you. I hope he comes back. Listen, family, he's in the rural, he's in the deep bowels of South Carolina, so the Wi-Fi is glitchy. I thank you guys for enduring some of the technical difficulties, but I've got 2 things I need him to talk about before we let him go. I don't see many questions. I see a lot of fire and hand claps, and people are feeling you, Marcel. They're feeling you. And I thank you, D, for the Cash App. I'm going to look at what you sent, and I'm going to give it to the campaign. So thank you. But anyway, listen here. Okay, 2 more things, and I'll let you go. I promise. I want you to tell the people why Jim Clyburn's 10-20-30 plan is another white wealth transfer. And I want you to talk to the people about that abominable bill of the Catawba Indians that he's so proud of, which the board is comprised of mostly white folks, $5 white Indians who used to own us as slaves. Can you talk on those 2 things before I pray us out?
Yeah, I'm glad you're telling me it's time to go. I can spend another 2 hours talking about that. One, I want to say something real quick. To the person that asked, my agenda is completely about repairing Black America. So, yes. But I want to say, okay, so the 10-20-30 plan, I don't have to explain it. I can let Clyburn explain it himself. He literally said on his website, he took it down now. He literally said on his website, the majority of people that would benefit from the 10-20-30 plan would be white Americans. He tried to sell his plan as reparations for us, or like some form of reparations. He literally said the plan was non-racial and non-partisan. He took down the document, but I have a copy of it. I can share it with anybody who wants a copy, where he literally said the plan was mainly going to benefit white communities. So what more to be said? But another thing that makes the plan so awful and I can email that plan to you, Angela, and you can share it with your viewers. I'll email it to you. People know I'm not making it up. It's from his own website. He took it down after he was called out on it, but I have copies of it. I also want to say the 10-20-30 plan is just evil. The plan literally says that a community has to be impoverished, 20% of the community or more has to be impoverished for 30 years or longer just to get 10% of the federal funding. 30 years or longer? That means some of our parents right now who are living will be dead before they ever even see any assistance. 30 years and 20% or more when the average poverty rate in the United States of America is 11 to 12%. In his district, though, it's 26%. And we know that's the poor. That's not counting the people who are almost poor. So, in 10% of federal funding, to whom is this 10% going to go? I have on my platform federal funding that will go to people who have been in the community for the longest. So instead of having what it is now, they put federal funding in community like Tim Scott's opportunity zones. And then you have these rich white people, or middle-class white people that move in and they gentrify the hell out of the community. No, on my plan, it goes to people who have been residents there for the longest. So if a community has been majority black and rural, and then that community gets an infusion of federal resources, it's not going to have white people moving in and gentrifying them out. Those resources are going to go to us to help us start nonprofits because we are smart enough to solve the issues in our communities, even though we didn't cost them, and then we can employ others while solving those issues in our community. The last one, the Catawba Reparations bill, that's really what it was. And let's call it as it was. The bill literally says, he wrote the bill and it says, the first one and this one follows suit, to give those special privileges, protections, and rights. He said this was a centuries-long injustice that is finally being addressed. The Catawba Native Americans are only 3,000. Half of them live in North Carolina, not even in South Carolina, okay? South Carolina's black population is almost 2 million. 30% of South Carolina or more is black, freemen, one of the fifth blackest state. But he took the initiative to write a reparations bill for the Catawba Native Americans who not only used to own us, they were also some of the Native Americans that were used to hunt our ancestors when they tried to escape from those brutal rice plantations. And yet those are the people for whom he decided to write a reparations bill. And right now, as we speak, they're about to construct a multi-million-dollar casino for which they will be able to benefit from tax-free. He helped them to get more land. While we speak, people like myself, and I see Glow is in the audience, because now I see the comments, who's also of South Carolinian lineage. Jay Baldwin was a genius. We are South Carolinians trying to hold on to our land that we've had since the mid-1800s. You have no idea how much it hurts me when I see our people lose their lands through a tax sale. During tax time, when I'm driving through my area, I see those bright lime green tax notices where they're pretty much telling our people your land is going to be put up for a tax sale. It is always in the mainly the black communities. And then once we lose our land, we get to see white people, some who are the descendants of those who enslaved us, buy that property, or even worse, or just as bad at least, illegal immigrants buy that property, and then their kids go to school to call our kids cotton pickers while we don't give a dime. That's what we're going to have happen, y'all, if we don't start acting like we are in a crisis like we've always been, and it's getting worse. That is why I have to get my message out there. The only thing Clyburn has above me is he has resources to get on air. That's the only thing he don't have. That's the only thing I don't have that he has.
Well, I'm here to tell you, listen, I'm not a big tweeter. I usually am in Racebook cutting up. But you got one time to tell me that he's come for you, and I'm coming for his jugular. Okay? You ain't even got to get your hands dirty, baby. Okay? I was made for the smoke. Many people know me from Fox Soul, where I was, very mild-mannered, okay? I did my best to contain myself, but I got my point across. But on the reparationist perspective, it's no holds barred. And that's why I don't run for office, because I want to be able to tell it like a TI is and tell the TR Ruth over here. I don't want to have to give a damn. I don't play politics when it comes to Freedmen. And I thank you, and I pray to God for hundreds more like you to take the government over. So you've got my support. I see people in the audience imploring upon each other to support. We can do this, family. We need to get our 4 reparationists in office, and we need Marcel Dixon to be the blueprint for what we want of our Congress people. This is the type of representation we are long overdue. We don't want the Clyburns, the Sheila Jackson Lees, the Maxine Waters. It's time for all of them to be unseated with the likes of Marcel Dixon and his persona is speaking for the Gen X, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. This is the only way to get the transformative politics we need, not just to survive, not just to come up off the bottom economically, not just for social justice, okay? We deserve, and by the blood of our ancestors, we deserve to thrive in this country, not barely survive while sitting silently and non-offensively in the gas chambers of either party. We need to get loud. We need to get honorary, because our very lineage, Freedmen, is on the chopping block for ethno-genocide in all colors. Understand what we're up against. We are out of time. So I hope you learned a lot today. I see you, Dark Matter, BB Rodriguez. I just want to shout out DJ 3D, J Baldwin was a genius. I see you, family. Who else did I forget? Tansy, I see you. Erie Blackfire, and Keisha. All right, I see y'all over here. I need y'all to make this interview go viral. I need you to visit marcelforcongress.com. Thank you, Demetrius, for the Cash App. I'm going to bless my brother with it. I sure appreciate you. I appreciate all of you for tuning in, for loving Freedmen Black and Strong. And with that being said, Marcel, did you have any closing remarks before I pray us out, or you're good?
I just want to
You will be back.
Yes, definitely. I want to say one last thing, that reparations is the natural progression. We went through abolition, okay? We went through the civil rights movement. I don't like saying the term integration because I have a lot of thoughts about integration. That's a whole other conversation. I want to say the civil rights movement, and now reparations is the 3rd phase. And I want to say to any white person out there who may or may not hear this, one, I'm not here to pussyfoot around the truth. Black people deserve reparations. There's no debate to be had. But reparations, Robert Smalls, who was one of my inspirations, he said that the Negro is here to stay in America forever. And he said it will be to the good of everyone and the white man to give him his due. So I want to say that to any white person out there who thinks that reparations is a quote-unquote black issue. Oh, yes, it's going to benefit us because we are the ones that are old, and I make no apologies about that. But ultimately, it's the best thing that can be done for you, because even with white Americans being overcounted, your population has still declined. And I believe that's because until this country does right by freedmen, Black Americans, this country is never going to truly have peace. This is what the country needs to do, and it will benefit all people. And if a person doesn't recognize that, that's just too damn bad, because buckle up, it's happening.
It's happening, baby. And we are leaning in. We refuse to give in, up, or out. And we will wear this social media out till times get better. You understand? That's how we made reparations a household name. That was us in the Twitter, in the Facebook, in the Gram, on ScrewTube, making it a household name, and we are still here. I don't care what they're on the majors. We are working until they cut the checks in the quadrillions over multi-generations, and we mean what we say because we are cut from the ilk of some extraordinary ancestors whose shoulders we stand on, and they're driving each of us to pick up a brick akin to Marcel Dixon. With that being said, family, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. And with that being said, family, until we meet again, know this: I love you black. I love you strong. And I'll see you again, more than likely, next Sunday. Peace, family. Thank you, Marcel.
Thank you, everyone.
Were amazing.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
I look forward to having you back.
And you know
you
what?
be sure to tell me whoever is picking on you has to come through me, because I'm going to tell it and I'm going to counter everything they got to say about it. You hear me?
You know what? I want them to pick a little longer, because they don't know the more they pick at me, the more my donation goes up and my recognizability goes up. So I want them to pick a little longer, and then I'm gonna let you handle them after that. But thank you, Angela. Thank y'all. See y'all.
Bye-bye, family. Love y'all. Peace. Oh, not yet. My outro. Hold on. It's fire. I got to share it because I love it. Hold on, family. Stand by for the outro. Oh, yes. This was rich, and more rich. And oh, my God, I am over the moon thrilled. I pray you are too. Fire, family. Just fire. Fire in the hole. Come through, Marcel Dixon. Come through. Yes, sir. Oh, what a way to start the new year, family. That's what's all the way up. Oh, I believe I can fly after that, family. Yes, I do.